Hello everybody, welcome to Red Tool House. Today we are up at our off-grid camp in the mountains of West Virginia, and this is an exciting day. This is a day that I've been waiting for about 2 years. We're putting a whole house solar kit in the cabin so I don't have to keep lugging around all my portables anymore. So come along, I think you'll find the results shocking. I want to give a super big shout out to Renogy. They're our sponsor of this video, and they're the sponsor of this actually happening. So I really am excited that they wanted to partner with the channel and provide us with this kit. This is the Craftsman kit. And this is what I really like about Renogy. They have taken all their solar, they've got tons and tons of solar panel components and solar, everything you need for a solar system for your house or your workshop or whatever. But they've taken things, they've put together these kits. So what we're doing here is actually the Workshop Craftsman kit. So it's something a little bit smaller scale than a full tiny house kit. Has a couple other features that I like. And so we're going to install that. So that kit comes complete. So I don't have to do all this research to figure out, okay, what needs to be here? What about this? What about sizing this properly? Because I'm kind of a novice to solar. And this kit is really going to help somebody like me and anyone that's just now getting into solar to be able to put together a kit without blowing your face off, which is obviously very important. So right now, you see behind me, Dad's actually putting our panels together. The kit came with 4 100-watt solar panels, and we've got to get our brackets ready because we're going to mount those out here on a mobile station. And we're actually have another video just about that mobile station. I'll link to it here, or if it's not ready yet, I'm not sure which one I'm doing first. We'll make sure that you guys see that video if you want to see the details of how we built that mobile station. So part of the Renogy Craftsman kit includes 4 100-watt rigid solar panels we have here. And we have to mount them on our dolly. And they come with some bracket sets here. We've got 4 sets of brackets for 4 panels. So we're going to put those together real quick. And what we're going to do, because of the way the frame is built, we're going to mount these on the north-south side. But you can see with these panels, there's multiple places where you can mount those depending on how you want to stick them. The kit comes with the hardware to bolt the brackets to the panel itself, but then also comes with gasketed self-tapping screws to be able to attach it to a metal roof. So if you're going to put it on, like if we were going to put it on our cabin, then we could screw that down. We are not going to put it on our cabin though. So just simply going to take single location here. The idea is that mount it, of course, flip it over, and it'll have an offset from our frame. So I'm just going to put these bolts together with the washer and the nut, and we should be good to go. Yep, I got it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so for mounting all of our permanent fixtures, all of our solar controls, we're going to use this area here underneath our ladder to the loft on this exterior wall. So we'll put a piece of plywood here. We're going to cut a piece of plywood to shape. Doesn't cover up my outlet. And they'll be able to mount all of our components. Our solar panel cables coming in, power's coming in right here. Did that last year. And then the batteries, we'll even tuck the batteries back up underneath this landing. Lithium ion, so they will not be producing hydrogen, so we don't have to worry about that safety issue. But we do need to have a little bit of air circulation. So this isn't completely boxed in, of course. There'll be some good airflow here. So the first thing we want to do is probably put a 2x4 brace in here, just because the plywood will be anchored here, but there won't be anything really to anchor in this spot. So we'll put a brace there, keep it from curling up like a potato chip. And then I'm going to show you all the components we have to put together here. All right, so let's look at what all we got to put together. And everything you see here comes in the Craftsman kit. In fact, these junctions, these are Y connectors that allow you to put multiple panels together. They come with 3 packs of these. This is 1 pack because I've already got 2 on the solar panel. Inline fuse, 2 of those. So you can put that in your solar panel. That obviously allows if there's some sort of load one way or the other, takes care of that. And additional wire to your solar panel. I don't need that right now. Actually, I'll need this inside, so we'll look at that here in a second. We'll set that aside. That's, goodness, yeah, that's 20 feet of wire there. So the thing that's interesting about this is this. I'm not familiar. I've not been familiar with a combiner box, and this one's actually pretty smart. It has attachments in it where you can actually Bluetooth connect and be able to check this stuff on your phone to see what's going on as far as what's drawing a load, how much power is coming in, all that type of stuff. And same with the charge controller. But what this is basically just a very fancy bus bar. So we'll have, here's our 40 amp MPPT charge controller. So solar panel energy will come in here. We'll have our leads coming into the solar panel side. And then from here to the batteries, we'll actually go from, instead of just going straight to the batteries, we'll go to the combiner box. And then the load will actually not be used right now. I'll put a star beside that because we are actually going to use it, but it will not be used as part of the system. And since the combiner box is kind of the hub for everything, it's the hub of the wagon wheel. So you see these monster cables for our inverter. So those will go from the inverter into the combiner box. And then the batteries will be wired in parallel and then into the combiner box. So everything, all three components come into the combiner box. And of course, from the inverter, we have the opportunity to go straight to AC plugs, or this little element here, we take that off, and that allows us to wire Romex directly to the breaker box. This is what we're going to do. We're going to be able to wire directly to the breaker box, feed the entire cabin through this 3,000 watt inverter. This thing is a monster. Batteries. The kit comes with two deep cycle lithium ion batteries. These are 200 amp hours each. They are huge and they are weighty, but they're not nearly as heavy as they would be if they were lead acid. So two of those, so that gives us 400 amp hours. That's going to double the capacity that I have currently with my biggest mobile unit. So this is going to be nice to go double capacity. These batteries are fully charged. Got the cables to wire those in parallel, and then, like I said, into the combiner box. I'm going to take the combiner box apart when we go to hook it up, and I'll show you the details of that because the magic really happens inside here. What's neat with the combiner box is if you need more lugs, because there's basically 4 ports plus your ground, if you need more ports, you can buy another combiner box, and they simply just kind of plug into one another. You see there's a tab there for a bus bar, and these things slide out, so you can just plug the next one right into it, and you could just have a series of combiner boxes to make a much larger bus bar. Now I mentioned the load here, so we're actually going to go out, since this is 12 volt out, we're going to go from here directly to a small breaker, circuit breaker. This is kind of like what I did in the outhouse where we wired power up there. If you didn't watch that video, I'll link to it here. 6 circuit fuse block, goodness. And so we'll wire that in as well. So we'll come off the load straight into here. And then we'll go through the walls where we're going to go through some, let me just show you. And what we'll do is there's portions of the house I want to have wired for 12 volt. And the most logical right now was to go with the 12 volt like cigarette lighter style, because there's tons of little adapters you have where you can go USB, or you can do Type C, you can do all those type of things from this. And there's 2 per kit. So what we'll have is just a mounting there on the wall where I'll have 2 of these guys plugged in. The purpose of that is like phone chargers and stuff. When we're going from DC to AC back to DC to charge your phones or those type of things, you're obviously losing power in that conversion process. If we stay DC directly off the charge controller, charging it, so on Kelly's side of the bed, she can charge her phone. My side of the bed, I can charge my phone and plug my hateful, god-awful CPAP machine in, which takes like 25% of the energy to run compared to plugging it into a 110 outlet and using its little inverter box to invert, which is crazy to think about it, but it does. And so it makes sense up here to always go 12 volt to use less power for that cursed machine. So that we'll have 2 of those, 2 different ones of these. So we'll have 4 total outlets. We'll do another one maybe over by the sink. I'd like to be able to plug the our big portable refrigerator, our set power refrigerator that requires, it can do 12 volt or 110, and the same thing. It uses maybe 10 more watts when it's 110. It's not as bad as the CPAP machine. So we're just kind of shaving off energy consumption wherever we need to. And something like that runs continuously, 24/7, then it's nice to have the least amount of power draw as possible there. Battery number 1. And battery number 2. So let's get our solar cable out of the way. Okay, so what we're doing is these two batteries we're going to do parallel. So it means we'll go negative to negative, and then positive to positive, and then from there we'll go to the controller, or the combiner box. If you want to test if these are charged, then just lay the crescent wrench across both of them. That will guarantee results. Alright, so these next battery cables, which I wish were a little bit longer, they're the ones that are going to go to our control bus, combiner box. So that's why I needed the batteries close and the combiner box needs to be low on the wall. So we're going to get these set up and see how far forward they need to be. Oh, it's gone too soon. Alright, so we're going to push these guys back and see what kind of pigtail that leaves us. Now, I know you guys are screaming at me right now. These are hot, right? Yes, they are indeed hot. So that's why we're going to be ginger. Dare I even say Marianne when it comes to making sure. I'm not going to hook these up to the control box just yet because I'm just trying to figure out exactly where the control box needs to be. And it looks like it's going to need to mount about right here, because by the time I get this ground wire manipulated the way I want it, it's not going to have very far to go. So we're going to be on the far left of that controller box, which will be fine. And the same with the hot here. Fortunately, the hot is higher on the control bus. So let's get the controller box out, the combiner box. Goodness. Get the combiner box out, let you look at that and see what, because I think that's kind of a neat setup. So this is Renogy's 500 amp combiner box. And I took the lid off so you can see the bus bar, basically a negative or ground bus bar. You can see negative bus bar, and you can see your positive bus bar. 4 mounting points, and then this would be for the extension. And it also has, it's Bluetooth enabled, so it's got a Bluetooth antenna here. It's got some CAN communication cables for additional stuff. That's beyond my pay grade. I haven't figured that out yet. But in a little LED, so it can give you indications of what's, for each of the lugs, what's going on. And then this little cable here plugs into the brain, and then each one of these go on each one of the positive lugs, and then the one on the ground and one on the positive lug here. That allows it to determine draw from any of those areas, or load, those type of things. So it's kind of slick how it does that. So we'll do that. We'll add that here at the end. I got to remember the orientation. Yes, this is the bottom, and then this is the bottom. So I got to remember my orientation here correctly. So we'll lay this back that way. So push the hot lead out of the way. That was Dad's recommendation, so I don't set myself on fire or light something up. And they also sent these breakers, or I keep calling them breakers. These are fuses. This is a 350 amp fuse, and it rests on the positive bus bar. So we'll use this one going to the inverter. And then we have another one that is a 40 amp. So we'll put the 40 amp on the bus bar going to the charge controller, so we don't have any issues there since that's a 40 amp max charge controller. But now I just need to figure out where we want to mount this. Obviously that negative to there, so that would work. So we're just going to be somewhere along those lines, I believe. Okay, so that hooks up our negative. And so next, I think we want to mount the inverter. Okay, so for our inverter hot, we're going to use that 450 amp fuse. It's the craziest little thing. I've never seen anything like that. But we're going to drop that in. They give you a longer bolt. And then we're going to try to fish this up through and get this started. Actually, got to put it in between the wire and the bolt. Kind of defeats the purpose if you don't have it between the bus and the wire. Drop that down. Okay. And we took our inverter cable up and around. Since we have extra cable, I ain't about to cut that. So now it's time to put the cables on the inverter. These little clips come off of here. All right, red on red. Okay. I think, Father, about right there.
Yeah, that's good.
You want to come put a screw in it for me? Hey, hey. Okay, so next we have the charge controller, which we've got some extra length cable here, and I just absolutely hate cutting cable. I have no desire to do it. But you're also not supposed to have a bunch of coil of cable. So I'm going to defer to my father. Father, should I cut them or not? All right, so we're going to cut them. Dad's given me the faith to do so. Okay. All right, so now the moment of truth. We're going to hook up the hot. I taped up the end of it here. That was Dad's recommendation, black tape, so I don't burn the house down or blow my face off type of thing. So we're going to shove it up through, and that will allow me to bend it around enough that I can get it ready for that lug. And this little sensor status wire goes on that. So I'm going to take the tape off. I'm going to keep my mitt on that so I don't let go of it. I'm going to drop that in there. I'm going to drop that in there. I'm probably going to get a spark. Called it. Yep, charge controller is showing, get the glare out of it, is showing 13.2 volts. Okay, so now let's put the combiner box back together. We'll have so many LED lights in this building, we'll never get any sleep. So the last thing we need to do is swap out our solar cable leads coming in. So this was going to our portable unit. And then now we've just got, I think this is 20 some feet of cable, and I only need like 6 feet, even that. So first thing we have is, that's hot. So this will be hot. Feel like Clark Griswold getting ready to plug in his Christmas lights. Joy to the world. We ain't got nothing coming in on solar. No, there it goes. 13.3. 13.2. Yeah, so light showing photovoltaic action, battery. Of course, no load. That'll come next. Okay, so we got everything wired up and tested, and everything's working great. So just kind of a recap, our charge controller, we've got power coming in through the solar panels outside. You can see our indicators here that we've got power coming in through photovoltaic. We've got light, we've got a light on for the battery, showing this battery. It goes into our combiner box, and then of course charging the batteries. Inverters here. Inverting, we have our 3 plugs here, so we can plug right in. These are 15 amps. And then of course our main lead goes right back to the breaker box, where we're now feeding power to the whole cabin. And it works great. We, in full disclosure, we did have a little bit of an issue we had to decipher with when we wired this up to the breaker box. There was a ground fault issue we were getting regularly, and we were able to correct that. But we now have power wired. So you can see this extension cord is plugged into actually the house, not the inverter directly. That extension cord is actually running our Starlink outside. But our pump that we use, Kelly even warmed up lunch for me in the microwave, so it ran the microwave no problem. Had the refrigerator going when the compressor kicked on, no issue. Dad even brought over one of his small lamps from his RV, so incandescent light, all that. You wouldn't. This is a 400 amp hour system with a 300 watt inverter. So the amp load is right around 20, so it can definitely handle anything we're going to throw at it. Now that light going out is my battery powered light. So it means I guess we're supposed to be done in this scene. So this needs recharged. But it was kind of funny, the only thing that was a little bit of an issue last night was you can see those LEDs, especially now that this light went off. You can see these LEDs. They're pretty bright, and we're sleeping right here. So between that, the little fan that we have, and the refrigerator, all these LED lights kind of made the place look like a discotheque. So I go around, I put a box in front of this to block those LEDs. I put a washcloth over top of the refrigerator LEDs, and Kelly has a sticky note to put on the fan so it's not so lit up. But really, really happy with how this is coming together now, and this is going to be nice. So we're actually leaving for the week. We'll be coming back up here in a couple more weeks. So I'm turning the inverter off. Don't want to leave that on, of course, but we're going to leave this on. So what we'll be able to do here is I'll leave the solar panels out at all time. It'll be charging, keeping the battery topped off. That's what the charge controller does, of course. It'll regulate and keep the batteries from overcharging, just being on a trickle charge. The batteries are not self-heated, so when we get into cooler weather, I'll either have to get a heating blanket for it, or I'll just have to disconnect them. The issue is under 30 degrees Fahrenheit, you're not supposed to charge lithium-ion batteries. So it's one of those things where I can disconnect them so they're not charging and leave them up here, or I can just have to take them home with me, or put a heating blanket. Some of the heating blankets, I was looking, they're only like a ½ amp, so not a huge deal there. And I can just tuck that underneath those, keep those batteries warm. Just need to keep them above 32 degrees. But let me show you the solar panel. So our solar panels, we're still using the same leads that we used for the portable systems. So that's just hardwired into the building. You can obviously see our ground wire and ground rod that we put in. But so we just have these leads lying out to our portable. And if we ever do fix, then we'll probably bury it in conduit at a mast. That way the UV doesn't break them down over time. But the panel in this spot is gathering quite a bit of energy, doing what it's supposed to. I think we were getting, the way we wired these panels, it's a 48 volt setup. So we were getting, right now, I think we're getting like 42 volts. So we're really getting good energy transfer there. And then the way we wired them, this is part of the kit that comes with the Renogy system. You've just got all these Y connectors. So it's bringing them together and basically reducing it down to 2 main leads. So that's why we only have 2 that go back. So all that comes with the kit, all these different connectors, and then even have an inline fuse there so we can take care of those situations in case we have any type of surge. Make sure I'm not setting that on my cable to crimp my cables. So after putting all this together, I'm very, very pleased with the kit. I love the kit idea. Again, we're not that adept at solar energy. It's something new for me and Dad. Dad has a long history in electrical work, but this solar just, it's just a different type of thing. So I love the kit idea. You knew you had everything you needed to put it together, and that was the case. We're 4 hours away, off grid. Got up here, other than the fact that I left the batteries at home and had to have my son drive them up. Other than the forgetfulness, the thing went together really well. So it's really set up to be a DIY kit. But I will say, if you don't have basic electrical knowledge, then get somebody that does, because you are dealing with a lot of voltage here, and it could be dangerous. If you don't get your connections right, or you don't clamp everything down properly, then you could have some tendency to have some fire, some equipment damage, and shocks, those type of things. Another thing I'd recommend, if you're doing this, especially if you're doing it off grid, do it off grid, but make sure you've got some sort of way to communicate with the internet, because it was very handy when we had a question, or hey, we just need to double check something, bang, bang, bang. Because of our Starlink up here, I could bring up Renogy's site, go to some of the tutorial videos, go to YouTube and check some things, download owner's manuals, whatever we needed to. So just keep that in mind, that if you're out in the sticks and you don't have any internet access, make sure you've got this tested before you bring it up there. All right, so if you're interested at all in these Renogy kits, these are new products where they put all this together in a kit. I think it's a really neat setup and really helps us that are just now getting into solar. But if you're interested in one of these kits, be sure to look at the discount codes below. Since it's a new launch, they are offering some really, really good discounts. This Craftsman kit that we put in is retailed over $4,000. And if you use the discount code, you can not only get the discounted price, but special code for watching this video can get you down to like the low 2,000, about 2,300 bucks for this Craftsman kit. And those batteries standalone are like $1,000. So that's a huge savings, bundling everything together and being able to have the information, the equipment, and the details to put it straight into your workshop, your small cabin, your RV, whatever the case. So be sure to check those out below. I'll have all the details listed, and you can take advantage of those discount codes. Well, anxious to get up here the next weekend that we have coming up, where I don't have to be doing all the days doing wiring and doing all that stuff. I can't wait to come up and just kick my feet back and know that we've got some of these basic creature comforts in place, and just really enjoy being up here in the National Forest in the middle of nowhere. Well, thank you all so much for watching. I pray you have a great week. Take care.